So tell me a little bit more about the suborbital programs, like the CRUSER program.
Right. So CRUSER is basically a program to make use of commercial capabilities. So when we looked and saw that there was significant investment being made in the suborbital community back in the 2000 and, after the SpaceX or the Scale Composites and Paul Allen team won the Ansari X Prize with Spaceship One, then Richard Branson came in with Virgin Galactic and said, hey, I want to do Spaceship Two. And so we started looking at that and said, and then there was some other folks out there, the X-Cores, the Armadillos, the Mastons, were out there and all looking to get into this market. And we said, what can the government do to help? And so one of the ways that we thought that could be helpful here is, well, what do you need when you're a small startup company? Well, you need technology and all those things, but there was other people doing that. What you really need is you need customers. And so we said, what if the government bought rides on these vehicles for research purposes to carry payloads on these research vehicles? Is there a market for that? So, and then about that time, Alan Stern became the Associate Administrator for Space Science. Alan came from the Southwest Research Institute, was a big fan of this area. And so we started this program and started trying to, it takes about 3 years to put a new initiative in place. So we started working the system to see if we could get this in place. And then we were able to be successful. So now there is a CRUSER program. They're going to be talking about that this afternoon, but it's part of the Flight Opportunities Program, which includes both the zero-gravity airplane, which is the FAST program, as well as the CRUSER, which is Commercial Reusable Suborbital Research Program. Aren't you impressed that I remember that?
I am.
Yeah, CRUSER. Actually, I was one of the ones that helped come up with that name. We thought that was a really cool name, was CRUSER. But again, it's trying to find a new way for the government and industry to work together, or expand on traditional ways of government and industry working together, where the government can leverage off of commercial capabilities to help accomplish its missions, and also support some of these emerging markets that could lead to the next big thing. What we're looking for is the next big internet in space, and this could be part of that.
Have any payloads flown in the CRUSER program yet?
There's been some test payloads that have flown. So right now we have agreements with 7 companies. NASA has agreements with 7 companies. One of them is a balloon company. So there's really 6 rocket companies that NASA has agreements right now. In some of the funding, both Armadillo and Maston have flown test payloads, and this is just getting cranked up right now. There's solicitations out on both sides for payloads and things like that, and so I would expect them to start flying, relatively soon. But we'll have to go see what LK says this afternoon, as he's the program executive at Level 1 at NASA headquarters, and so he can give us an update this afternoon on what the real status is.
Now, back to SpaceX's upcoming flight at the end of this month. If it was unsuccessful, how do you feel that the effects would be on the industry?
I guess the question is it's not that it's not a binary. It succeeds or it doesn't succeed. I guess the question is what if it doesn't succeed? Kind of why didn't it succeed, and what didn't it succeed at? And then what's the plan for recovery? One of the things that's different about the COTS program is it's a milestone-based program, so you do not get paid for your effort or your activity, you only get paid for your results. So it's basically you have to perform, and then based on the milestones that were negotiated in the agreement, then you get paid for those milestones. So basically there is no risk to NASA of this, as long as it doesn't damage the space station, because NASA only has to pay for this flight if it's successful and meets the objectives of the flight. So the risk is kind of on SpaceX in this case. Now, Elon has made it very clear that whether this is successful or not, he's going to press on. So I think a lot of this is how quickly, if it's not fully successful, how quickly can they fix whatever didn't work and then refly again. If that's a relatively short period of time, then I think it won't have a big impact. If it turns out that something is fundamentally wrong, then that could have a more significant impact.
And at the same time, if the mission is 100% successful and completes all the milestones, do you think that that will ramp up not just production with SpaceX, but with Orbital Sciences and some of the CCDev programs as well?
I think it'll certainly be a good step in the right direction because, I mean, literally, I think legitimately, one of the concerns here is this is a very fundamental change in the way that the government and industry have worked together, where in the past, NASA has basically looked over every nut and bolt, and now it's more of a partnership where the government is working with industry, but that you need to come to a common agreement about what's the right way to do, and NASA gets to set goals or the requirements for the meeting of the milestones, but not necessarily how you achieve those milestones. So this is fundamentally different, and so that some people are skeptical of that, and I think this, if they are successful or when they are successful, that'll go a lot further towards saying that this is a good approach. Now, that being said, that in just about every other part of the economy, that the way that we're trying to do this in the COTS program is the standard way of doing that. That the customer says, this is what I want, this is what you need to deliver, and then it's up to the vendor to decide how that they go about doing that whenever you buy something. So this isn't new in the global sense, but it's kind of new for this particular thing, and especially the way that NASA buys and produces hardware. And some people just want to say, okay, show me that this can work.